Hello. All right, so this is for my YouTube people about some big updates I put on Facebook, but I didn't really put it in a video. Quick thing is I went to Flying H basically the last day of the year, and I actually pulled off a personal best every single time that I ran. I think I ran a total of 3 times, and I went 586. 584 and then a 578. So I did get my 570 this year, which is really exciting. And then I also sold a daily driver for a little bit, and that left up some money for me. So I went and bought this, which you can't really see it, but it's in there, believe me. So this guy right here is it's all the stuff that comes with like the freeze plugs and whatnot, but it was a new in box Dart Iron Eagle. So we have the basis for a 2000-ish horsepower engine now for the wagon, which is pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited. And then also I managed to get a really good deal on a aftermarket case, reed case, Power Glide, finally. So that way I don't have to worry about cracking cases again like I did 2 years ago. It's instead of being a 180 gear set first, it's a 169, so I should be able to throw a little bit more power at it off the line and maybe do a little bit more consistent 160 foots or 60 foots. Jesus Christ, 60 foots. Let me show you that. I put that in the car. I filled it up with fluid, did all the necessary things to make it fit, and then did some upgrades while I was in there. Get my handy dandy light here. So here we go. There she is, but you can't really see. You can't really see it very well, of course. But yep, had to get a reed bell housing or something that fits reed bell housings, and came with some provisions for bypass valves, which I won't be using currently. You can see those 2 plugs in the back right there, and then I had to notch the cross member so that way I can hook those up when I want. And also I did something for a speed sensor in the back. I upgraded to a strange cap style flange for the differential, and then that empty ring right there is where a speed sensor can go. So that's pretty exciting. Other than that, it's not really too much more that I'm going to do. I really want a new turbo. I would like to have, this is a VS Racing S480. I'd like to upgrade to a 88 102 or like a 92 103, which I guess they make similar power, but I think this girl's just tapped out because I went from 20 to 23 pounds, and I barely gained like maybe half a mile an hour. So I think we've gotten to a point that this thing is out of its efficiency range. This thing shifts about 6,800 RPM. They're Trick Flow 170 ported heads that are probably more like 190s. It's got a decent sized turbo camshaft in it, so I think we're ready for just a little bit more. I'd like to do 125, 128 mile an hour in the 8th, and I don't think that thing will get us there anymore. So I also decided to try to cut some weight out of it, and I heard that you can get a bunch of weight out by gutting the doors and taking out the reinforcement bars, but sadly, since these doors are, I think they're about 12 inches shorter than a regular Fox body, is the reinforcement bars are only like, I don't know, 5 pounds a door. And then I also cut out a piece of the rear bumper that had metal support bracket on it, and yeah, it's aluminum, but the thing's pretty beefy. So I went and I cut the bottom out of the bumper. You can see from here back, so that way it doesn't catch as much air from the bottom, and then I get rid of that whole large bracket that was in the back. But I actually managed to cut the door bars out and leave basically some webbing in place behind it. So all this stuff is pretty, I didn't put all the clips back in because I didn't have any. but I managed to actually make this so it's pretty stiff. It's a little floppy, but not terrible. And 5 to 9 pounds a door, I'd say. I cut out 29 pounds total. That's with the weight of the bucket, but I mean, 29, 30 pounds. And then I wouldn't mind going to instead of a 20-gallon fuel cell, I kind of want to go to like a 12 or a 10-gallon fuel cell and just cut, what is that, 8.6 pounds per gallon minus, do times 10, be like 86 pounds off the back. And then if I also had the money, I would like to do a small battery. And those batteries, I think, are at least 30, 40 pounds. And if I cut that in half, and you're talking about taking 100 pounds off the back of the car, which would be pretty cool. Plus the 30 would be about 130 pounds. And then I haven't weighed the car since I took the passenger seat out, went to a Kirky, and then removed the top piece of the back seat. So maybe from the other 2 years ago, maybe be 200 pounds down, which would be pretty darn cool. Put us at, with me in the car, it was 35.50 before, so 33.50 with me in the car, which would be a little bit more ideal. Other than that, I did do some loops for my steering wheel because I kept just pushing it, down there somewhere, and then when I was locked in, it was hard for me to get that. And then I have a helmet loop up top as well. So some updates, nothing too crazy, but pretty proud of the car. And those are just the wheels that are on it are, they're junk, so they're for roll around. But I'm looking forward to next year. It'll be at least a year until that new engine is built, because I'm going to fill it with some good stuff. I'm not just going to do a run-of-the-mill scat stroker kit on it. It's a 4/125 bore already, so with a 4-inch crank, which is typical, it'd be like a 427. But I know that if you want to make things live a little bit longer with a lot of power, you want to kind of go with a shorter stroke. So it's, I could do a 3.9 crank or a 3.8 5 or something like that to make it a 409, a 416, 418, something like that. I'd like to talk to some more engine builders to see what is the best idea to do when you're trying to push a little bit more power, because those Iron Eagles aren't bulletproof. They start having some issues around 2000 plus, which it's going to be a long time until we can run something like that. But it would be nice to have it in the front of the wagon to make a reliable 1000 to 1200. It's almost bulletproof at that level, and then just kind of make the car do some low fives. And then also I'd like to tube the front end on the car and do some Mirrorlat boxes in the back. Instead, take the stock upper and lower control arm boxes out of there and do some adjustables. And they sell an entire kit that's pretty much, it's a nightmare, but you take all the spot welds out, and I think some of them you have to cut part of the floor out, but it's this whole one piece assembly. You can tie the cage into it, so it adds rigidity to the car, so you're not losing, it's more predictable because you're not having flex when you're starting to push the car a little bit harder. I like having that flange in there because that means I don't have to rely on the friction of the old style flanges, which were basically just a giant circle, and then the flange that attaches to it is just with 4 bolts, and those tend to shear at a certain 60 foot and a certain amount of power. But that transmission should be bulletproof for the amount of power that this car runs for now. So next year we won't have any worries about bumping in, so I'll get a little bit more practice, because I was kind of gun shy when I would go to the track, and I didn't want to bump in. I kind of wanted to just build, boost, and go, and so this would give me more practice bumping in and practicing my reaction time and not thinking about the transmission case cracking again. I do have some of those pieces for sale if anybody needs a flex plate and a J-dub bell for a power glide and a small block Ford. But other than that, it's gonna go to bed this winter for the most part. I kind of want to drive it today because it's going to be like 37, 40 degrees, and I still haven't driven it with that new transmission just to make sure everything works as it should. And what's exciting is I don't have to hit the trans brake anymore in order to back up the car. I just put it in reverse because that's the way that the valve body is designed, which is it's pretty exciting. It's like a regular car. Instead of having to one-hand it while you're doing that, you can put it and use both hands with a manual steer rack, which is a lot better. I'm going to do a health check on the engine and replace, there's a bronze gear on the distributor sink on it that gets replaced every year. We'll see. I adjusted the height on it just a smidge from what it was last year. We'll see if it's better in terms of wear. And then I'll probably upgrade the type. They do a harder bronze gear that tends to last a little bit longer, because this thing just, running a bronze gear, you just put a bunch of metal through your engine constantly. Obviously you don't want a ton, but I change filters probably 4 times during the year. And, you know, it is what it is at this point. But yeah, just a little bit of an update for everybody. Not many people are going to care, but the 2 or 3 people that do, you're welcome. Big things are coming for the wagon, and with that new engine in there, it should be pretty good. And then we can just keep upgrading stuff as we go, as budget allows, and start having fun with the car. Maybe do some actual more racing instead of just a lot of testing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments.